Hey there, coaches. I'm Rich Prado, owner of Play In School and host of Travel Ball Talk, where I talk to travel ball coaches from the best organizations about the current and future state of travel baseball. Today's guest is Eric Dubose, Vice President of the East Coast Sox. Dubose has a fascinating background. He went from the MLB to driving a school bus, to then running one of the most successful travel ball organizations in the country. In this conversation, he does not shy away from what makes the Sox different than other clubs. I hope you enjoy this episode of Travel Ball Talk. Welcome back to Travel Ball Talk. Today's episode, we're heading down south to talk to Eric Dubose, partner, head dude of the East Coast Sox. Eric, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Now, you listeners out there may pick up a little bit of a southern twang. Eric, can you tell us where you're sitting? Tell us a little bit, maybe while you're telling us where you're sitting. Go ahead and give us a little background of where you are and how you got to where you're sitting right now.
Well, today I'm here where I live now, Tuscaloosa, Alabama, working on some stuff for the summer, trying to get ready. There's always a lot of moving parts in our organization, and answering emails and questions, and trying to get together a little pro day workout for some of our players and guys in the surrounding areas today.
Now, before I hop on a call with somebody, I do a little bit of light Googling, and so when I checked you out, Eric, one thing that kind of jumped off the page to me is you were a pretty high draft pick out of high school, weren't you? What round did you go in out of high school?
I was drafted by the Dodgers in 1994 in the 6th round, and chose to go on to Mississippi State and played there for 3 years. And looking back on it, it was a hard decision, and I tell people all the time, you make a lot of decisions every day, but you only make a couple of decisions that are life changing. And me deciding to pass on going to play pro ball out of high school and going to college was a big decision in my life, and turning down the money and stuff. But I grew up in a very small town, and I was physically and baseball wise, I was ready to go play pro ball, but I did not feel like coming from the small town. I graduated with a whopping class of 20 people, and just wasn't ready to go out into the pro side of the world, and so I decided to go to Mississippi State for 3 years and had a wonderful career there and time there, and was fortunate enough to be a first rounder out of Mississippi State by the Oakland A's.
That's incredible. Talk about a very difficult decision back in the mid to late 90s. I don't know a lot of folks who could have had the confidence to turn down, the money, the opportunity to go play college baseball. Turn down a 6th round pick is unbelievable. But obviously it worked out. 3 years later, you bumped up in the draft by 5 rounds. That's pretty good, man. That's pretty good. And pro ball treated you okay?
It did. I threw a lot of innings, a lot of pitches in college, and got to pro ball in '98. Had a really good year. Got pitcher of the year in AA in Huntsville, Alabama for the Oakland A's, and then '99 my arm started breaking down, and had shoulder surgery in 2000, and didn't play in 2001. Got released. I got picked up off waivers, got shipped around by a couple teams, and then got picked up as a free agent in 2002 by the Baltimore Orioles, and sort of reinvented myself as a pitcher. I went from being a power pitcher in college and starting out my pro career, and after my shoulder surgery, did not have the power stuff, and sort of turned into a left-handed thumber, and reinvented myself. And where I was a power fastball, power breaking ball, went to more of a finesse guy where threw fastballs, BP fastballs, and a whole pile of changeups, and figured out I could still get people out by doing this. And in 2002, my first year back, made it to the big leagues at the end of September, and then played in the big leagues part of seasons 2002 through 2006 with the Orioles, and then bounced around for a couple more years, then had to hang them up.
I tell you, that I think that being a left-handed pitcher might be the biggest advantage in all of sports, man. You know, you can do it any which way and still get outs when you're throwing with that left hand, can't you?
It is, and you know, I would have been out of the game a lot sooner if I would have been right-handed. I truly believe that, but I found a niche that fit me and that could keep hitters off balance. I never was a guy that could really locate, that I could just paint it up to both sides of the plate, but I got really good at keeping hitters off time, adding and subtracting with my velocity, and that became who I was, and had just enough success to make it to the big leagues and be a part of that fraternity.
So fast forward us a little bit from your pro days. You did some stints as a college coach, as a high school coach, and now in one of the premier travel baseball organizations in the country. Give us the quick version on your high school coaching and your college coaching. Where were you?
Well, I started out when I got through with pro ball. I mean, I was sort of lost, and just like a lot of guys are. I mean, for my whole life has been baseball. You look at my resume, and all it says is baseball, baseball, baseball. And I was like, I got to do something. So I went back and I finished up my degree online from Mississippi State. While I was doing that, I was a school bus driver and assistant coach down at Wayne County High School down in Waynesburg, Mississippi. And then got my degree and got signed on for 1 year at West Alabama in Livingston, a Division II school. Was a pitching coach there for a year. And at this time, I've got a wife and 3 kids, and another one on the way. And just the paycheck that I was getting and the time that I was spending away from my family just didn't add up. So I came back to Tuscaloosa, where my wife and family was, and took a high school job for 3 years. And after that, I mean, I started working with East Coast as soon as I got out of the college side of it. And East Coast was really doing good, and sort of just took on that path there.
Give us, first of all, it's kind of amazing thinking about a guy who's been in the big leagues, and then 5 seconds later he's driving a yellow school bus in a, probably a pretty country town, getting kids to and from school. It's kind of opens your eyes up and says, hey, just, you know what, you just get in the big leagues. It can end in a hurry, right? It doesn't last your whole lifetime. You better be ready to go when you're done with that. Baseball ends for everybody. Luckily for you, you've been able to continue making a life out of baseball with the East Coast Sox. Tell us, I've met very briefly Joe Caruso. Can you talk to us about who Joe is, and as well as Greg and Chris?
Yes, and Joe he played at Alabama, and we played against each other when I was at Mississippi State, and Joe was at Alabama. And Joe was a scrappy ball player. He was a guy that you didn't like playing against, but you liked for him to be on your team. He was a little gamer, and Joe already was doing the travel ball stuff, and that's sort of how me and him got back reconnected. When I was at West Alabama, I traveled around and watched what was then the East Coast Grays, and followed them around and saw his players. He had some good players and was recruiting his guys, and then we sort of went the next step. When I got out of college, they brought me in to to be their pitching guy on the weekend, and just a sort of a show and go kind of deal. And Greg Sykes and Joe sort of got together. Greg had a son that was in high school playing the travel ball, and he had a passion for baseball, a passion for Christ, and those two sort of got together and sort of formed up the summer that I was a show and go guy, that I was just the pop in, do the pitching for the weekend, and right off into the sunset. And they sort of brought me in the next year as a full time, and we sort of became a three-pronged organization. And Greg Sykes is a businessman. He makes the comment now that he was retired, and he'd done everything that he wanted to do in the business world, and we've sort of brought him back in, and now we work his tail off. But he's the brains behind this operation. Joe and myself, we do a lot more stuff with the baseball, and Joe does a lot of the scheduling and recruiting, and I help with the recruiting and the pitching side of it. And it's just been really an amazing thing to see how God has opened doors and brought three guys from three different aspects of their life and brought them together, and has done what he has done through East Coast baseball. And Chris Snopek, he has been involved in the youth division in Jackson, Mississippi, and he's got a pro background. He played at Ole Miss, and then played with the White Sox in the big leagues, and has an unbelievable story all of his own. And we sort of just joined up with him and teamed up with him for us to have a voice and a field into the youth division, and sort of a feeder into what we do at the high school level. And God opens and closes doors all the time, and how he's opened up and let Joe and Greg and Snopek and myself all come together. A couple things that we have in common is our love for baseball, our love for kids, and our love for Christ. And it's been a fun ride thus far.
Thanks for giving those guys a nice introduction. When I met Joe at the ABCA in Indianapolis a couple years ago, and I just thought the world of him. Great guy. Well, I'm going to put a ball on the tee for you. I'm going to give you a nice BP fastball here. On the website, underneath your logo, it says East Coast Sox, a Christ-centered program. Talk to me about what you think differentiates East Coast Sox from most every other organization in the country.
Well, I mean, there's a certain amount of responsibility, accountability that goes along whenever you say you're a Christian-based organization. We have meetings all the time, and constantly we're having to remind ourselves that none of this would be possible without Jesus Christ. And, we don't take it lightly that part of our logo is a bat and a ball making a cross. We don't take it that, all right, that's as far as we want to go. Hey, we're a Christian-based organization. We're a bunch of good guys. We're always looking as for ways to not only get better on the baseball field, but also in our ministry. We've always done our worship services, but like last year, we realized that we were making it tough. We would have multiple worship services, and the turnout was not what we thought was the way it was supposed to be. So we got to where on Saturday nights we closed down our whole baseball tournament and made it where everybody had no excuse to come to the main stadium, wherever town we're in, and for us to have our worship service. And our numbers, they did get better, in the intimacy that we had in our worship got better by us obeying and making way for us to be able to worship. One thing in travel ball, and one thing that I think a lot of our parents really appreciate, I know from having a family, and we get so busy doing ball that you can turn around and for 3 months you've been playing tournaments on Sunday and you hadn't been able to get to church. You hadn't been able to get your fuel for the next week and for what life's bringing at you. And so we don't want to sit there and say that baseball is more important than our walk with Christ. That we want to make it where we can do both. And through East Coast Baseball, we have numerous emails and stories and just life lessons that we've been able to reach kids and families through baseball and through our ministry through baseball that we would never have got to reach by just going to the church. And, the church is we bring the church to the baseball field. And I think God has smiled down on us and rewarded us and said, good job, guys, by some of the success that we've obtained on the baseball field, but it's been more so about the ministry and how we've gotten here. And, just hearing families and kids go home to their parents and say, hey, this is what's going on in my life, and this is the feelings I'm having, and them leading their parents to Christ, and their parents having a little reality check, like, why is my son telling me more about God than I know? So it's just been an unbelievable deal. And this past year, on top of doing that with with our worship services, we went on a mission trip to the Dominican, and we took 33 parents and players and kids down there, and it was absolutely one of the most amazing trips that I've ever been on. And again, we while we were down there, we taught baseball. We used baseball as sort of our platform to share the gospel. And I was fortunate enough to take down my 11-year-old daughter and my 9 and 8-year-old boys and get to share that with them. And while we're in the Dominican, my 9 and 8-year-old boys get saved and accept Christ. So for forever, they will always be able to use a mission trip that we went down there to share and teach how to play baseball, but also share the gospel as their testimony of how they accepted Christ. And my kids, Josie, my daughter, the other day, she was like, she's saving money and working now to save money to be able to send to the Dominican. So through all this is available because of our walk and us being loyal to our walk with Christ through East Coast Baseball.
Let's take a short break from this call to talk about my day job, video. In 2019, if you aren't leveraging film to market your guys, you are doing them a disservice. So where do I come in? Well, filming one guy on your iPhone and texting it to coaches or posting it to Twitter is easy. But filming 25, 50, 100, or 200 is really hard. And that's why you haven't done it already. That's why smart coaches partner with Play in School. We do all the work. We come to you. We can film 100 guys in the time it would take you to film just 4 or 5. If you'd like to see every team we partner with, visit playinschool.com/teams. Contact me today to discuss the details. Now, back to the call. That's powerful stuff, man. I can just imagine someone on the other end of this podcast putting it in their ears, listening to it, and thinking that's pretty cool. If they're unfamiliar with the East Coast Sox is what I mean, and they're probably thinking, well, that's doable because it's just a small little team with probably 15 or 20 guys, and they're probably not getting the pick of the litter on the baseball side, right? Because all that church stuff might turn off that really good player, right? Except for the fact that I just pulled up the alumni page here, and in 2019, y'all had 90 college commitments. That's 90. Schools like Oklahoma, LSU, Mississippi, Louisville, Alabama, Georgia, FSU, Coastal, Carolina. It goes on and on and on. So let's talk about two things. From a baseball side, y'all are not some small little standalone team, are y'all? And y'all are not just, getting kids who are, planning on going to seminary school. You're getting dudes, and you're getting lots of them who happen to also embrace what y'all, right on the logo, Christ-centered program. So talk to me about that, about, the size of the organization, the quality of player, and how that player comes in, and if he's already ingrained in his walk with Christ, or if it's a new thing to him. Talk to me a little bit about that.
Yeah, we have 28, 29 different teams and kids coming from 13 to 15 different states.
Wait, pause. 29 teams.
29.
You're talking about from like 6U to 18U, right?
No, we start with 14U. We go 14U, 15U, 16U, and 17U.
Okay, so 29 teams at the high school age group. Incredible. Go ahead.
Yeah, and they come from 13 to 15 different states a year. And, when you're talking about that many kids, so say we're talking about 400 to 500 kids in our organization this year. So when you're talking about that many kids, we're getting kids and families from all different walks of life. We can't sit there and say that we've got 500 kids that have all accepted Christ. They're all on fire. They're all just looking to serve God. We don't, and that's not what we're trying to get. I mean, we would like for them when they leave with us, or they're with us, that they grow stronger and that they want to know more about him. They want a relationship with him. But I mean, the reality is that we're getting people, and we're looking for guys that fit who we are, both baseball wise and spiritually. And one story that comes up, and we have what we call our Growing Together camp, and we have it at Timber Creek in Pulaski, Mississippi, which is a small town down in central Mississippi. And this young man at this camp, we do baseball stuff, we do team building stuff, we do worship services, we do breakout sessions. It's just what we call our Growing Together, and it was sort of kicks off the summer, and we get to know the kids a little bit more before we get started. They get to know us, and we have worship services every night at 9:00. And I mean, we have numerous kids get saved and accept Christ, and it's awesome. But we had this one kid, I guess it was about 3 years ago. He came out of it, and we go right into our first weekend after that, and he made the comment. He goes, "That was the worst thing I've ever been to." He goes, I will never do that again. And we didn't sit there and say, hey, you don't need to play with us. You don't like what we're doing. You need to get out of here. No, we said, that's fine. That's okay. We'll continue to pray for you. We want you to play. We're going to continue to put you on the field. We're going to continue to cheer you on. We're going to continue to promote you to play baseball. And by the third weekend that we played, he was leading prayer for his team, and he was a leader on his team. And his mom was one of the ones that sent us an email just stating, I don't know what y'all have done to my kid, but since he started playing with y'all, he's a totally different young man. He's the way he talks to me, the way he treats me, the way he goes about his business around the house, and all of his actions are just different. So when you hear stories like that, it really helps put perspective what the baseball really means. Because like we were talking about earlier, I mean, I got to do everything in the game of baseball that you can do except for make a Major League All-Star team. I played on the Junior Olympic team, the Olympic team, played in the SEC, played in the big leagues, played in every low A to high A. Got to do everything. And at the age of 32, 33 years old, I'm driving a school bus. And that's something that we try to be real transparent that, guys, this will come to an end. Baseball will come to an end. Maybe you'll be fortunate enough to do some of the things I did, and maybe you'll be fortunate enough to be way better than I was. But in reality, all of this will come to an end. But if we have a foundation of Christ, then we're going to be able to continue on. And, I have a very colorful past, and I'm very transparent on that. I have not always been perfect. I'm still not perfect. I still have issues and things in my life that I need to clean up. And but at the same time, we're striving to invest in these kids and give them a foundation, give them something that won't let them down. Baseball let them down. I'll let them down. Their coaches let them down. Their parents let them down. But if they know that no matter what I do or what I come against, God will consistently be there for me and will not let me down, then we've won. And, you know, we are getting good players. I mean, this year in the draft, we got a chance for 2, 3, maybe 4 first-rounders. You know, with Bobby Witt and guys like Bobby Witt and Reese Hines and Maurice Hamptons and Hayden Dunhurst and Jordan Becks. And, I mean, all these guys, you look around and you're like, there's got to be something more here that they're coming to than just baseball, because they can get baseball at a high level at different places, but for some reason, somehow, they're coming to play for the East Coast Sox. Why? And we're talking about trying to say what sets us apart. Well, there's one thing that is obvious that sets us apart is what we stand for and what we believe in. And, you know, we've been rewarded with having some good players and having some unbelievable life-changing stories through what we do and what we stand for.
Good stuff, man. Good stuff. I want to take a look, kind of, you know, take a little left turn here that's sort of related. You know, you're talking about 400 to 500 ball players coming to you from 10 or 15 different states. That's a lot of dudes, and it's a lot to keep up with, and guys going all over the place all summer. That's a logistical nightmare. And then I look at your schedule, and you guys have done something that is very interesting. It's very unique. You know, my first podcast we put out was with Bob Reichman from the Orlando Scorpions, and he announced on that show that the Scorpions were not going to play any of the big tournaments all June. They're just going to hang together. They're going to do basically a month-long of development. Now, I look at y'all's schedule, and I say, well, heck, every single one of your teams is doing the same place, the same thing, the same event every weekend in June. And I'm going, hey, that sounds kind of familiar. Can you explain what y'all do in June? It is a little different than what the Scorpions are doing. It has a lot of similarities, but it's a little bit different. Can you walk us through what y'all have managed to do with your 29 teams?
Yeah, I mean, having 29 teams, it's just not feasible. It doesn't make sense for us to say we got 29 teams and just spit them out and say, all right, go find tournaments and go play to win. So the month of June is really a time where we're getting recruited by college coaches. We have control of the environment of the tournament, and we're using that time to showcase these kids what they can and they can't do, for us to get a better grasp on what they can and can't do and where they fit into the college aspect, whether that be top level Division I, whether it be a lower tier Division I, whether it be D2, D3, JUCO, NIA, whatever it is. Where do they fit ability wise and grade wise? And what we do is we travel around with all 29 teams, and we go. Our schedule is the last weekend in May. We go to Meridian, Mississippi. And when we go to a town, we play at at least one and up to 3, maybe 4 different college campuses, plus surrounding high schools in that area. And so, like when we go to Meridian, we play at Meridian Community College, East Mississippi, and East Central Community College, plus some local high schools and at Sites Complex. And just for that one, to give an example, for the others to come, the teams will play 3 9-inning games where the pitchers will go 4 innings or 65 pitches, whichever comes first. And then we will also have an hour and a half practice for each team. there on site at Sites Complex. And plus, we will have breakout sessions as well. In the breakout sessions, it's more individualized to what you do in your individual needs. So say you're a catcher. Well, Friday and Saturday from 9 to 5, there will be catching clinics going on all the time. And we'll have coaches there just waiting on kids to come. There's no schedule. There's no you got to sign up. You get as much out of or as little out of it as you want. And this is all included in your summer fees. So you may play at 11 o'clock and then you don't play another game that day. Well, you may go play your game at 11 o'clock. Then you may sit there at 3 o'clock and go to hitting, which is always going on. We have 2 or 3 instructors in there that are highly recommended, and you go hit there, then you slide, get hit there for 45 minutes, then you just go over there to the catching deal, and you work there with a catcher, whether it's working on whatever it may be. It may be your receiving, it may be your blocking, it may be your footwork throwing down, it may be your transfer, whatever it might be. So as a catcher, we may have middle infield going on. We may have base running going on. We may have pitchers fielding practice or holding base runners on. We may have middle infield play turning two, whatever it is. So inside of one weekend, you get the 3 games to go out and be scouted, recruited, to sort of display your in-game traits or crafts. And then on top of that, you have an opportunity to go and do all these other things inside the weekend. An hour and a half practice, what we do with those is we say we have 8 or 9 teams in one age division. We'll take team 1 and team 2, and they'll have the same practice time for an hour and a half. So say we're doing cuts and relays. We'll take team 1, put them on defense. At team 2, we'll put on offense, and we'll put a base runner at home, first, second, third, and we'll hit a ball and say, okay, we're going to play everybody's doing something. Mm-hmm. Because one thing at baseball practice is real hard to keep everybody active. It's real easy for one person to be doing something and the other 15 guys to be sitting there watching one guy do something. So we got a team out there on defense, and we got a team running the bases. Well, we hit a ball. Well, the runner at home plate is either running straight through first base or he's making a turn, making a good aggressive turn. The guy at first base, he may be getting over halfway, reading the fly ball. The guy at second base may be tagging the guy at third base, doing what he's supposed to be doing. But the defense is just playing one guy live. So there may be double cut where they have to go out there to the wall. They may have to the left fielder and the shortstop, the left fielder, shortstop, center fielder may be having to communicate on a fly ball. So we're getting 9 guys defensively engaged and 4 guys offensively engaged. So on one play, we've got 13 of the 30 guys doing something. Then the next guys, base runners come in, and we'll do it again. So, each weekend there will be a different focus on an aspect of the game that we see that needs attention, whether it be bunt plays, whether it be holding runners, pickoffs, run downs, backing up bases. There's so many things in this game that, here I am doing travel ball and showcase baseball, and I don't sit here and say it's perfect, but we have really, really good players, but sometimes our really, really good players don't know how to play the game, and it's not their fault. We don't want them to go to college and Coach Lamonis at Mississippi State signs this kid that's really good, and all of a sudden they get there the first week of practice and he's a middle infielder and he's telling him to hold a runner on at second, and he doesn't know what the actions are or how to get there or where to start off or the footwork or the thought process that goes in hand. So if we can do a better job inside of our weekends of giving them this information and helping them learn how to apply it, the better off they're going to be, and the more the college coaches is going to trickle down to us like, hey, go play for these guys. They're doing it the right way. So we start out.
Let me see if I can break this down. 5 weekends in a row. Last weekend of May through looks like about the third weekend in June, maybe. So 4 weekends in June and 1 weekend in May. You guys stay together as an entire organization, 29 clubs. You're going from one town to the next, one town
Right.
to the next, 5 weekends in a row. You're basically running your own tournament, kind of like, sort of feels like they're playing a 3-game event. Like every other team in the country goes and plays their event where they're playing 3 to 4 teams. You're doing that. You're still getting your innings. Your pitchers are throwing. Your hitters are getting their ABs. In addition to that, you've got your breakout sessions for skill-specific work, and you've got your team practices built in. One thing that this is, you think, well, it's 29 teams. My organization only has 10. Well, guess what? This works with 10 teams. This works with 8 teams. This works with 15 teams. So a smaller organization could replicate this model. Now, I was just doing a little bit of back of the napkin math over here. The alternative would be if you sent these 29 teams to other events. Okay, those events all summer long cost somewhere between $1,000 and $1,500 per weekend for those 3 or 4 games. And so not that this stuff doesn't cost you money. You still got a lot of expenses built into this stuff. You got to rent 3 or 4 or 5 facilities. So there's still expenses, but way less than sending 29 teams. 29 teams at at $1,000 per event times 5 weekends is about $150,000 in tournament fees alone, and they're not getting nearly the depth that they're getting through your style of weekend. It's pretty interesting concept. I'm not going to.
You got to think about it too from a college coach's aspect, and that's what we're giving the players a service and the college coaches a service.
Yeah.
So if we take all of 29 teams and we say we're going to 10 different tournaments, well, guess what? Each college only has 2 guys that can be on the road.
Yeah.
So now they've got 10 tournaments that they need to see to be able to see these guys.
Yeah.
How are they going to do it?
Yeah.
They can't cover it. So by us keeping everybody together, they get to form their schedule around and see what age group they want to see and keep up with the guys that they already have all in one spot. So that's why when we keep all 29 teams, we got everybody's needs at one spot, whether it be a JUCO looking at the older kids, whether it be the D2 looking at the older kids, or the mid-level D1s looking at the older to a little bit younger, or the top end D1s looking at the younger kids. So by us keeping them there feasible, yes, it makes a logistical nightmare. It helps on that too.
Mm-hmm.
But it also helps a lot with the college coaches being able to one-stop shop and see what they need to see by showing up at one ballpark and being able to see 500 kids that bring something to the table.
The word that pops into my head is efficiency. It's efficiency for you guys as an organization, but it is also creating efficiency for the college coach and pro scout who knows that they can roll into Meridian May 24th through 26th and see every single dude there, or Birmingham the weekend after, Tuscaloosa after that, Starksville and Oxford. You guys basically are wearing out Alabama and Mississippi for the first 5 weekends. And then, okay, so we get that. That's very cool. And that's all basically, you almost call that, that's almost like inter squad on steroids, right? Now, you were telling me the other day, and I think it's worth pointing out, one thing y'all do, what happens if a younger team matches up against a little bit older team, or a less talented team versus a tremendously talented team on the field? Since it's just your own thing, y'all have some flexibility. What's one of the things y'all do in that type of circumstance?
Yeah, and that's something that comes in, that is part of mine, handling the pitching staff. And good pitching wins every time. So when we have a 2020, our best 2020 team, and they're playing our third 2021 team, well, if we just throw them out there, guess what? our 2020s are not going to get any better, and our 2021s are going to feel like they're not very good. Mm-hmm. And so we haven't won on any level. But if we take our 2020 pitchers, that are really good 2020 pitchers, and we throw them over on the 2021 team, and we throw our 2021 pitchers over on our 2020 team, hey, we're right back having a good baseball game.
Yeah.
So we use the pitching rotation for our hitters to see the pitchers that they need to see, for them to continue to feel pushed, to feel like they got work to do, to get the bats that they need off the quality pitching that they need to do. And our 2021s, they don't need to face Kelly Crumpton or Jackson Fristow or somebody throwing 94, 95. They're not ready for that. They're not that player yet. Mm-hmm. So by us just flipping the pitchers, we're right back to even playing field.
Yeah.
And the pitching is what wins games and wins tournaments and wins championships, no matter what level you're at. So we do a really good job of developing our pitchers, giving them the innings that they need, but also being able to control their working environment. One thing that we do is, like I mentioned earlier, we go 4 innings or 65 pitches. So, and a college coach has never seen anything from pitch 65 to 100 that he hasn't seen from pitch 0 to 65. So when we leave him out there for that, then it's more of a self-win deal than it is for the kid.
Yeah.
So we in the month of June, we want to see them be fresh. We want them to be able to go out and showcase and be strong while they're on the mound. By us also running our own tournament, if a kid's not doing something good, or like in spring training, which unfortunately I had probably more of these than I want to talk about, hey, we can just say roll it over. Hey, you were at 28 pitches. You got 1 out. Hey, instead of us killing you, you've been out there laboring. You're not getting any better. Hey, roll it over.
Yep.
We flip sides. He goes out there the next inning. He gets 3 up, 3 down.
Yeah.
Now he's got 2 innings, 35 pitches, and now he's to go 4 innings. He feels good. We got better.
Yeah.
So there's different things that we can accomplish to help the kids to promote them and for them to get what they need out of summer ball.
I just love the flexibility of it. I love that. The alternative is, what almost everybody else is doing, where they're just going to drop $1,000 to go play 3 or 4 games against random teams with, and it's just a showcase with no trophy on the end and really no point, right? If nobody's in the stands, you guys are leveraging the best of a scenario, because you got, the volume of guys and you got quality players, and you're going to move around and do this in pretty good spots. I could see a team or an organization much smaller than y'all's doing this, and maybe they don't do it 5 weekends. Maybe they do it 1 weekend or 2 weekends or something like that. Start out small, because some of the medium to large, not large like 2019's large, but medium to medium plus size organizations could easily replicate this model 2 or 3 weekends right at the beginning of the season. It's a logistics thing, it's an efficiency thing, and it's a cost savings thing. All pluses in my book. So that gets us, while I'm still looking at your schedule, that gets us basically into that gets us into July. So y'all spend just 3 or 4 weeks at the major events, chasing those big time trophies, right?
Yeah, and you talk about the smaller organizations. Just go back before we go into that. The big thing that you run into is places to play and who you're playing against. That's where it has been over time that we've built up, where we have 90 college commits. So you're talking about 5-16 full of college players at some level. So if I have 8 teams, 10 teams, and I don't have the best players or good players, then college coaches aren't going to come, and then colleges aren't going to want you on their fields. You know, when you talk about our schedule, you go from Meridian, then you go to Samford University in Birmingham, you go to the University of Alabama, you go to Mississippi State, and then you finish up at Ole Miss and Oxford. So there's one thing brings another, and you know, one thing that helped us going into July is being able to go and compete at the big events. And you know, by us using the month of June to locate our strong suits and to put together Team 1, Team 2, Team 3, Team 4, Team 5 to go to these big events. When we're doing that, we're playing GM when we go to the WWBA, and we've used all this knowledge and all this feedback that we've gotten from watching these guys play over a month and watch them practice and watch them interact with other players. All that stuff goes into how we select our teams for July. We're looking to put together a lineup. So we're looking at right-handed versus left-handers. We're looking at speed guys versus power guys. We're looking to plus offenders to offensive guys. We're looking to catchers that can receive, catchers that can hit, catchers that can throw. You know, so all this right here has been gathered by us being able to see our guys and lay hands on our guys the whole month of June. So if we sent them out the whole month of June to just go play tournaments, how am I going to know what I have in my organization? Because I can't see all 29 teams when they go to 10 different tournaments. I'm going to miss a lot of guys that way.
This is interesting. To clarify, are you picking basically at each age group an all-star team out of your organization to send on to the major events?
That's it. And
that's
and
cool.
That's
pretty cool.
And we try to make it perfectly clear that, you know, we have a core, and as they get older, we know more what they can and can't do, because a lot of our players play with us multiple years. Do we lose players? Absolutely. But we keep more players together than we lose. So we know the core of Team 1, but somebody may make a jump and they gain some velocity, or they got some power, or they bring something that's going to make this team. Maybe it's just his makeup. Maybe he's just a baller, and maybe we got some big-time guys that don't play hard. Well, I'm going to put this guy on this team, and they're going to feel bad because they're not playing as hard as him. So all that right there is gathered through the month of June. And then, so you may be on Team 1 the whole month of June. You didn't produce. Well, guess what? You're going to be on Team 3 when we go to WWBA. And we don't want to lose sight of, you still have to go and produce. You still have to go and play the game. No matter what your PG ranking is, no matter what your PBR numbers are, all this, there's still got to be some accountability to you going out and performing when the game is on the line. And, you know, college coaches, you know, we even with our pitchers, now when we go to WWBA, we take the training wheels off a little bit, because guess what? College coaches do want to see you in a win-lose situation with the game on the line. Can you make that pitch? Can you go through the lineup the third time? Can you get the bunt down? Can you move the runner over? So that's when all the work that we put in June takes over when we go to July, and we put together this all-star team for our 2020s. We put together our next best team for our 2020s, our next best team. So we use all of our resources to do that at each age level. And, you know, did we sit there and draw this out and say, hey, this is the perfect model and we just figured it out and we're smarter than everybody else? No. We've had trials and errors. We've had arguments. We've had discussions. We've had moves that we didn't work, but we've learned. And fortunate for us, we've had players step up that needed to at times, and we've won some big events. And, you know, winning brings good players, and good players brings wins.
Yeah,
so
that's I'll tell you, I'm fascinated by the way y'all have been able to create this schedule, and a part of that has to do with the vast volume of guys you have. Obviously, you're doing something right and something that's attractive to be able to bring in 400 to 500 guys each summer. So whatever that is, keep doing it. I want to work towards wrapping this up. I know everybody's busy these days. You're getting ready for summer. It's like February. We're having this conversation. I love that you're prepping for the summer already. We all are, man. We all are. I want to ask you. We've spent a lot of time learning about the Sox, and I appreciate you spending so much time, kind of bringing us in the loop. Let's talk about just kind of the world of travel ball in general. If I handed you the wand and gave you the power, and you could maybe either make some changes or keep things the same, what would be something that you'd love to see? What would be something that would make travel ball a little bit better in your eyes if we could make some changes? Are there any?
Everything has some spots that could be better. And I think they're addressing them. They're trying to find ways to do different things. One thing is like when we do the PG, the WWBA, when you play 4 games in a day, why?
Yeah.
Why, in any right mind, if we say this is about the kids, how does that happen? But like I think it was 2 or 3 years ago, we started our 4th game of the night at 1:00 in the morning and finished up at 2:30 in the morning. And then the next morning we had to be back on the field at 10:00. Had a rain delay in the 4th inning until 6:00 that night. So we started the day before at 9:00 in the morning. We got done at 2:30, 3:00 in the morning. The kids got home 4:35, and then at 10:00 we're back on the thing. So things like that. But then the next year they realized that, hey, this is not healthy for the kids. We got a lot of high talented kids that's going to play for a long time. They don't need to do this. So they started a rule where you can't start a game after midnight. So they're working towards it. But sometimes we let wins and losses get into the way of what's best for the kid. And we're all guilty of it, man. We're competitors. We like to win. We want to win. But when we take the final say that what is best for the kids out of the equation, then we're messing up. And a lot there's so many travel ball organizations now, and it's something that's really, I mean, you look back over 10 years ago at the 16U WWBA, there's 150 teams, probably close to 100 teams. Now you're talking about 400 or 500 teams. So is there 400 or 500 quality summer ball organizations? I'm not to say. I mean, we started out as one of the lower tier ones, and now we're one of the best. But at the same time, it's something that it's a free for all. There's no rules. There's no regulations on getting kids. So it's just everybody out for themselves, and just trying to inform players and coaches and dads of who to trust their kids' future with is something that always bothers me, and something that we take a lot of pride in. Like, look, I'm not trying to build my resume off of your kid. I've got a perfectly good resume in baseball on my own. I'm not trying to put my name on him for me to gain gratification for Eric Dubose. This is what can I do for your kid so he can have some of the same experiences I've been able to have through this game of baseball.
That's really well put, and I think anybody listening can probably visualize or picture a tweet from somebody who you can absolutely tell that they base how they feel off the performance of some teenage kid on a baseball field.
Right.
And that's kind of, honestly, there's no other way of saying it, but it's kind of sad and weird, you know.
Well, when we take a step back, it doesn't make sense. When you take yourself out of the spotlight and you do a good self-evaluation, and I mean, that's something that I mean, Greg, Joe, and myself, we all have different backgrounds. We all think different, but I have my strengths. Joe has his strengths. Greg has his strengths, and one thing that we constantly keep ourselves intact with, it comes back to our walk with Christ. That's as long as we keep Him first, the rest of it's going to take care of itself. And we're baseball people. And we try to think from a aspect of what's best for the player, what's best for the college coaches, what's best for the pro scouts, and that's something that we're looking to get better on. That's what I'm sitting here working on now, is the pro side of it, because you talk about it, we got 90 college commits out of the 2019 class. Well, guess what? We're going to probably have, last year I think we had 19 guys get drafted that played in our organization and maybe got drafted out of high school, went to college, then got drafted. We're getting more and more and more and more on the pro side. So now we're looking for ways inside the East Coast Sox to be more pleasable and workable with the pro side of it, as far as the East Coast Pro and the events that they have. And how can we help our guys have every opportunity to be seen by all the MLB teams, just like we do for all the college teams.
Let's ask you one last, hopefully easy and short question, and then we'll tell everybody where they can hook up with you. If you had to give a piece of advice to a coach looking at getting into travel ball, what do you tell that guy?
Keep it about the kids.
Simple as that.
Take your personal. Yeah, I mean, it really is. If you do right by the kids, the parents are going to see it. Whether it's not always what the parent wants. You have to. I mean, we have guys that think they should be playing at Ole Miss, and guess what? You're a Division II player. Be transparent, be truthful, be upfront, and do what you say you're going to do.
That's awesome. All right, so I've got y'all's website pulled up. If anybody wants to check out the East Coast Sox, it's www.eastcoastbaseball.org, and I'll also put all this in the show notes. Eric, are you a Twitter guy?
I am a Twitter guy. I'm not very good, and Greg and Joe will testify to that. But we do, and I know we're trying to wrap up, but that's a whole nother deal, that the social media that we do, like for our high school players right now that are in their high school seasons, that they have a superb game where now if you go 1 for 3, we're not going to tweet that out, but if you go 2 for 4 with a home run and a double and 5 RBIs, we're going to tweet that out, and we have so many college coaches following us on our Twitter because they get to see what these kids are doing. If I constantly see Joe Blow pop up over and over doing something good, well, I'll make an astrophite, and I'm going to go follow him during the summer. So, yes, we do the tweeting there. And
all right, well, I just pulled it up. If anybody wants to go out and find them, it'll also be in the show notes. I believe the one you guys use is at East Coast B-Ball. That's at East Coast B-Ball. It'll be in the show notes as well. Do you have a personal one, or you don't tweet personally?
I don't tweet enough for anybody to follow me.
Gotcha. That's where I'm sure that's where you're putting pictures of your latest latte that you've had at the coffee shop, right? Sure. This has been fascinating. A lot of really cool, a lot of very interesting, a lot of very different things compared to just the run of the mill club. So I appreciate you sharing with us. I wouldn't be surprised if you get a couple phone calls after this when this thing goes on the air, whether it be from coaches who are intrigued by y'all's mission, or from families who maybe appreciate what you're doing. Gosh, thank you very much. I'm gonna let you go on that.
Well, man, thank you for your time, and thank you for reaching out, and we do appreciate your time and effort.
All right, man. I'll talk to you real soon.
All right, thank you.
Thanks. I'm having so much fun bringing these shows to you each week. If you'd like to recommend a coach for the show, please don't hesitate to shoot me a note at rich@playinschool.com or DM me on Twitter @playinschool. Again, my name is Rich Prado. I'm the founder of Play in School. My goal is to continue to create products and services that add value to you, the travel ball coaches, your players, and their parents. Visit playinschool.com to see some of the ways we're doing that. Or better yet, let's set up a call. Until next time, thank you for listening to Travel Ball Talk.